When you start living with the end in mind, everything starts to change. What are people going to say about you? What message is your life going to speak when you're long gone? Because you weren't born by accident. You didn't just happen to be where you're at and happen to watch this video. There is always a reason.
Awesome. Well, we'll begin officially. All right. So guys, I just want to welcome you to our Fuse Life podcast, episode number 52. As you know, Fuse Life, we are all about the infusion of heaven on earth through you and through me. And my guest today is a good example of that. He's got an amazing portfolio. I'll let him talk to you about all of that. But I basically connected with Robbie probably in the last 2 weeks. And from our first conversation, we both felt it was totally the Lord that we connected, especially for me to find someone in New Zealand and even for him to find someone in New Zealand that's vibing and similar things. So I'm super pumped, man. Robbie, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Hey, Joseph, thanks for having me, man. It's good to be here with you, bro.
Man, what an honor. I mean, just hearing some of the things you've been up to, and at such a young age, and even the maturity that you carry and the heart that you carry for the body and for the family of God, like I'm really inspired by that. I'm so thankful to have you today, man.
Thanks, Joseph. Yeah, good to be here, bro. Let me know how you want me to kick this off. I've never really done this before, so yeah.
Come on. Well, we're really casual here at Fuse Fam, so we're all good. We'll just begin. Maybe you just tell people where you're at right now, what you do, you're married, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I'm based in Napier, New Zealand. I've been out of the country for about 9 years. Just finished a stint in Canada working for a property development company over there. And we've got a 1-year-old boy, another one on the way due in September.
Mom.
So that kind of triggered the move to come back home. So we moved back just before the lockdown. So it's really good to be back in New Zealand. What I do, I'm involved in a few companies. I've got an investment company. It's called Apex Capital, and that's real estate investment. And then also run a coaching business. Basically work with people all over the world. I got clients in Norway, UK, USA, Australia, South Africa, New Zealand, different parts of the world. Basically working with entrepreneurs, helping them to get into what their vision is, what their strategy is, all that sort of thing. So that's really my primary passion, I'd say, is training, coaching, speaking, that sort of deal. But also a lot of investing, and got a development company that is starting up now. So we got our first project in Hastings at the moment, and also starting a training company with someone who a lot of you may or may not know, Ian Clayton, which is going to be kicking off here in Hastings as soon as the borders open. So that's called Thunder Academy. So between investing, developing, coaching, training, hanging out with my family, I don't have a whole lot of more time on my hands.
Yeah. Wow. So for those of you that don't really know, I mean, Robbie's still quite young, and he's doing a lot of things at a high level, I believe, at a very high level. And we're going to go into that a little bit this morning. So Robbie, let's go back all the way to the beginning, like from 0 to 20 years old, a little bit about your journey, where you were born, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Thanks, Joseph. So I was born in South Africa, 2 hours out of Johannesburg, a place called Klerksdorp. And up until the age of 8, really, I had what you'd call just the perfect childhood, bro. Like, I seriously can't remember one bad memory. Like, great parents, great family life, like great grandparents, great friends, great school. Like, I just had the perfect life, and I had a really close connection with the Lord as a young kid. I just remember just countless days, you couldn't shut me up. I'd just be singing worship songs, and I was just the perfect picture of a happy kid. And then one day I find myself in a plane in Johannesburg airport, and I'm sitting in this plane looking out the window with so much like anticipation, excitement, moving to the other side of the planet, obviously being New Zealand. and not really knowing what, like as an 8-year-old kid, not really knowing what was going to be on the other side. So we get to the other side, and here I am in a place with different culture, different language. Like English was my second language, different environment, and I wish I could say that the transition went well for me, bro, but it really didn't. Like I was just like a fish out of water. Like I did not fit in at all, and yeah, I don't. I guess it's just I guess it's just what you can expect when it's an entirely different culture, language, environment that I was used to, and so I guess in some ways I got bullied a lot. There was in my school I can kind of remember there'd be 3 categories of people that would get picked on if you were a foreigner, if you were religious, and if you had red hair, and I kind of ticked all 3 of those boxes. So the initial few years, like they're really difficult for me. And I remember like so many nights just crying myself to sleep, going like my life went from absolute joy, like every day just being the happiest kid, to just being absolutely miserable. Like, and
Wow.
not to paint a bad picture of New Zealand at all. That was just my specific situation, perhaps the school I was in. So it didn't go well, and I think that we can only really endure pain at that level for such a period of time before we just begin to shut ourselves down, and that's what happened to me. I became a very broken person, like really broken, and fast forward a couple of years, I was labeled with ADHD, like I told you the other day, where I'd be in class and I would just be like, I can't concentrate, can't. Like just didn't get it, wasn't interested, and I guess in my brokenness, it kind of morphed into this twisted kind of hatred, perhaps, or just felt like the world was against me somehow. In my little mind, I developed that belief that the world was against me. It wasn't true, but it became true for me because I believed it. And I just remember like just feeling like teachers hated me. I don't know, man. I was just real different in so many ways in my wiring, and so when kind of through what I'd call like the spiral of death, went from getting detention after detention, eventually getting into drinking, smoking, drugs, all that's, I mean, the usual stuff, drugs, sex, rock and roll, and don't get me wrong, like I had some really good times and I had some good mates as a teenager as well, but deep inside there was this emptiness. Like I would fall asleep every night listening to death metal. Wow. Because that sound just resonated with where I was at, this deep kind of awareness of just hopelessness, brokenness, all that sort of stuff. So really the story kind of hit rock bottom when I turned 18. Around that kind of time, I got arrested the night of my 18th birthday because this guy wanted to fight me, and the cops just I guess I had a bit of a reputation I didn't want to fight this guy, but he wanted to fight me, and they came and arrested me. So I slept in the jail cells that night, and I guess I just got to the point where I felt so trapped within the quote unquote system of school, wanting me to be a certain way, wanting me to fit within the system, wanting to tick the boxes, and it just wasn't going to happen. And so one day I had an encounter with this teacher that was like my arch enemy, and I just grabbed a cigarette, put it in my mouth, and lit it up right in front of him. And that was my statement, kind of just saying, I'm not like this, your system and your idea of what I should be, like I'm not going to fit into that. And so he obviously said to me, don't bother coming back to school, like you're done with. And so got kicked out of school that way. My relationship with my parents at that time wasn't real good, so I left home. I got fired from, I don't know, I think I lost count after like 5 jobs.
Wow.
And And so the reason why I go into detail around the bad portion of the story is because the story gets so damn good. And if I only told the good part of the story, then it would sound like I'm bragging. But people got to understand this, that I hit rock bottom so hard. Like I felt useless. I felt like I was just a write-off of society. Like I just got chewed up and spat out and left for dead. Like my teachers and people around me honestly thought I'd end up in jail.
Wow.
And so yeah, bro, I get to this point where, like I said, I have no future in mind. Like I couldn't see past the next 2 days, and the next 2 days was just, how am I going to earn some money to buy some booze? Like that's where my thinking was at.
Wow.
And so one day, I guess it's a bit like the prodigal son. I realized that this is not like what I was destined for. I remember back to my life when I was an 8-year-old kid, and I was so happy and so connected with God, and I cry out, bro, and I say, God, I'm in the shit. I need your help. Like seriously, and I'm sorry if anyone's offended by that, but that's just where I was at. And that was my prayer. That was the cry of my heart. And I was like, I need your help. And that night I saw a vision of myself dangling on the edge of a cliff, hanging onto a blade of grass that was about to snap. And Jesus sticks out his hand and he says, if you don't take this now, it's going to be too late. Right. And obviously I take his hand, and nothing kind of shifts the first few days, but a couple of weeks later, I get a call from an auntie of mine that I hadn't spoken to in years. And she says, Robbie, God's put you on our heart, and we want to know if you want to come and live with us in South Africa for like a year. And I just knew, bro, like that was like the hand of God pulling me out of the situation I was in.
Wow.
And yeah, so at this point, I'm like hearing these voices. I get on the plane, and I've never felt so much opposition. I've never felt so much like, resistance. I felt like just these voices, like just saying things like, you should kill yourself, all of this sort of stuff, man. It's crazy stuff. And I found myself arguing in my head going, no. And that's when I realized that they weren't my own thoughts. But the real heart of, I guess, my story and what unlocked everything going forward was what happened when I got to the other side, when I landed. They took me, bro, to a Lion King show, to a Broadway production.
And how old are you here?
I was 18. I was 18 at that point, yeah. And I'm sitting there, Joseph, and I'm going, God, I know somewhere in the Bible it says if one of your sheep goes missing, you'll come and find, you'll lead the others to come and find that sheep. And I'm missing, like I'm lost, like help me. And just as I finish praying this prayer, bro, this huge lion face comes up in the show, and it goes, Simba, you've forgotten who you are. You've forgotten me. You're so much more than what you have become. Remember who you are. You must take your place as king. Remember who you are. You are my son, like this. Wow. And throughout my whole body, there was like just this explosion of energy, which I know is the Holy Spirit, just reaffirming that truth. And the parallels in the story were crazy, because here's the son that's run away from his destiny, run away from his identity, run away from his position, living the Hakuna Matata life. And he has this encounter with his father that says to him, you need to come into agreement with the truth. The truth is, you are my son. Let's take your place as king. And so as he comes into agreement with his father, he takes his position on the throne. He displaces the evil one that's taken his position. And as he takes his throne, all of creation responds to it. Life returns. It shifts from a position of destruction and chaos back into order and life. As the son understands his identity and takes his position, creation responds.
Mm.
And so there's an internal shift in him. There's an understanding of his position, his identity, and his responsibility, which are the three most important things for us to understand.
Mm.
And as he comes into agreement with his father, everything shifts. And in me, bro, has always been this awareness of the brokenness of the world. And through this, I was shown that actually we are the key to bring restoration.
Mm.
Us coming into position will cause, and that's why the scripture says all of creation's groaning, waiting for the manifestation of the sons of God, not waiting for God,
Mm.
waiting for the sons. And so I got this download about our responsibility as sons over creation, and how us taking position as kings is really the key that will unlock everything. So anyway, I had this encounter, and then, oh, bro, like there's so many details I could go into, but I'll give you the shorter version for the sake of going into other things. I find myself at a Bible school a month later, a place called Surf Masters, run by a guy called Des Sawyer, incredible guy, surfboard shaper, and his philosophy was that the art of teaching is getting out of somebody what God put in them.
Mm.
And so all the potential, all the talent, all the gifting that you have is where? It's inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
So as a teacher, my role isn't to give you information. My role is to cultivate what's within you.
Mm.
So if a certain seed doesn't grow, you don't criticize the seed, you shift soil conditions to accommodate the seed, not the other way around. And so I was like a seed that was put in soil that wasn't appropriate for me in terms of the schooling system and that. And this guy, bro, Des, he would just speak life into me. He would just treat me like I was way up here. And that year, like everything in me shifted, like everything. And he really was a catalyst for it. But I went on to meet my beautiful wife. Her name's Jazz. And yeah, I guess I got a vision for my life at that point. So yeah, that's kind of answering your question, 0 to 20. Yeah, that's kind of what the journey is, bro.
That's awesome, man. That's deep. That's amazing. Let's carry on. So how did it go from 20 to now? What's been going on?
Yeah, so onto the subject of wealth. I'll make this statement. Wealth is primarily an internal state. That internal state results in the materialization of wealth around us. So I don't have, I'm not wealthy because I have wealth. I have wealth because I am wealthy. But if you can get that statement, then a lot of things will change. So kind of shifting onto the concept of kingdom wealth. What happened to me, bro, was a massive shift in my internal state, right? Through a direct encounter with God, through hitting rock bottom, through, I guess, absolute surrender. So let me just say this quickly. In that year, God stripped me of everything. So I came across this plant one day, and God said, stop and have a look at it. And in this plant, there was like another plant wrapped around it that was choking it like a weed, but it was the exact same color as the plant. Like if you just looked at it at a glance, you wouldn't see it. But I looked real close, and there was something disguising itself as the plant, but it was a foreign object actually killing it. And he said to me, I want you to strip away what you think is you, but is not actually you. So from that point onwards, bro, like he asked me to give away my guitar, which was my most precious possession, to take out your earrings, cut off your hair, give away all your clothes to the homeless, like literally all your clothes, give away all your music. Like literally at this point, I'd lost all my friends. And I came to a point where I felt so barren and like so stripped. And I was like, God, I'm just putting all my chips on the table. Here you are. And I think it was important for me to say that, because I came to that point of absolute surrender which really is the starting point of true wealth, because that is what gave me access to the wealth of our Father. And so from that point, I went back to New Zealand. My father took me along to a real estate investment conference, and this lady gets up from Australia, and she's 26 years old, and she goes, "I've got 13 properties. What's your excuse?" Like this. And in me, I just went like, so at this point, I had made a decision. I'm going to go into business. I just knew it was important for me to have wealth as a component of transformation. So the core of what I'm about is transformation. And so I'd made the decision, I want wealth. And so in this meeting, right, she makes a statement. I'm 26 years old. I've got 13 properties. And I'm going, wow, she can do it. I can do it. And in me, I made, again, another internal shift, which was an absolute decision and clarity that by the age of 30, I would have 10 properties. It's more than like setting a goal is just like an intention or something that you're going to have. This is way more than a goal. This was an absolute decision. Like I could see it, and it was like set in concrete that in 10 years time, I was going to have 10 properties. The reason why was that those properties would produce passive income, and I would have my time free to serve the Lord. And so I wrote that down as something that I was going after and put it up on my wall. And I just locked it into place, bro. And clarity of vision, again, is a massive key to wealth creation. And so what I learned is that when you set the outcome, all of creation begins to work with you to come into alignment with that outcome, because as sons, we carry authority, and we just talked about how creation is hardwired to respond to us as its governors. Right? So when I, understanding my place as a king, says, making a decree, this will be, not this is what I think will happen, but this is what's going to happen, things will begin to shift and come into alignment with that. And so what I found is doors opened, opportunities came. Somebody gave me a book about investment that was just a life-changing book. I met another amazing guy. His name was Barry Ward. He's the top real estate agent in our area. He offered me a job as a real estate agent. So I worked in real estate for a couple of years. And I was 21 when I got my first deal. So we bought a house for $215,000 at the time. Spent like 50 grand doing it up. So cost us a total of 265. And then it valued up for 365,000. So we had 100 grand of equity. And we could use that to buy then 3 other properties. And from there, it was just like a snowball effect, just one deal after the next. And moved to Australia, went and worked there in the mining industry, doing like high-level contract negotiations. So during my time there, I think I negotiated a total of like $250 million of contracts for a company there, which again is just a story of massive favor. Like, here's a guy got kicked out of school, no qualifications, and a guy in the mines actually said, "Robbie, I think you've got potential. You need to do an MBA." And I was like, "Dude, that's great, except for I never finished high school." And he's like, "Oh, I'm a part-time lecturer at a university. Don't worry, I'll figure something out on my end." And anyway, long story short, he pulled some strings and I get into an MBA. And so I do that for like 4 years, working in the mines, negotiating these contracts, working across like 8 mine sites, flying around Australia, doing like just learning high level business principles, bro. Like negotiating deals with like 9 times, like I was 22, 23 and years old at this point, and they're like, "Okay, Robbie, you're running this $40 million tender." And I'm like, okay. So negotiating oftentimes with guys that are like 60 years old. Here's this 24-year-old kid
Mm.
doing all the legal, commercial, technical negotiations and contracts like this fat. So it was just, again, another preparation phase. But during this time, we're just putting all our money into buying assets over here. And so long story short, we get to, I don't know, 26, 27, and I hit my target of what I set for by the time I'm 30. And so now we've got passive income. We don't have to work. We could work, but we don't have to. And so I get the Lord knocking on my door saying, remember what you said, like that the reason you're doing this was so that you could, you know, spend your time doing the work of the Lord, doing the work of the kingdom.
Mm.
And so we spent 40 days in a wooden cabin, my wife and I, cut off all connection with the rest of the world, like turned off our cell phones and laptops, and just spent so much time just engaging, bro, with, I guess, what you'd call your scroll. Like what is your assignment that you got sent to this planet for? 90% of people don't know that. They're not living in alignment with that. And there are so many external things pulling our attention, or opportunities, because when I had just finished my MBA and there was so many opportunities for promotion. My boss was like, bro, what will it take? Like, we'll move you close to the beach or give you, you know, better position, more money to stay on. And I was just like, nah, I can't. But anyway, all I'm saying is there's all these external factors, whether they be, opportunities or different things that pull at us sometimes that are in competition with what we're actually meant to be doing. So we spent these 40 days, bro, just figuring out, like, what does the future look like? And remember what I said, that wealth is an internal state. And the most powerful way for us to calibrate our internal state is through pictures. And so I engaged heaven to see my future by becoming still, be still, know that I'm God, right? Putting all my own stuff aside, engaging with what Yahweh wants. And as I saw it, I started putting pictures to it here. So what does that look like? So really, it came down to three things: wealth, wisdom, and transformation. Wealth and wisdom, the flow of wealth and wisdom leading to transformation of the planet. So what does that look like in everyday terms? So it's the generation of wealth, which came through investment, development, negotiation, deals. So I would put pictures of like property development, pictures of buildings, pictures of like hands being shaken, pictures of gold and silver, pictures of wealth, right? With wisdom is to do with coaching, consulting, training, speaking, the flow of wisdom being used as a channel, and transformation, just pictures of, like, to me, that represented transformation. Anyway.
So you're putting these pictures where? Like a vision board?
Yeah, vision board, bro, for sure.
Okay. I want to speak to that a little bit. Is this okay? We dialogue a little bit on that?
Yeah.
So, the law of attraction, there are a lot of people like, believers that would be like, man, that's, new agey or demonic, or I'd love your take on that. Like the law of attraction, is it real? Do you feel it's real? And how is that linked to the kingdom?
Bro, it is absolutely real. And I almost want to honor the New Age community in a lot of ways for utilizing a kingdom principle a lot better than 90% of Christians. The difference is this, that the principle works no matter who it is. Like the law of gravity, it works whether you're a Christian or you're not. It's like universal laws. It doesn't distinguish whether you're a believer or not. And so really it's the inherent power within us as those who are made in the image of God. God is a creator. As a creator, the physical material world responds to him because we're made in his image. What applies to him in that sense applies to us. And so they'll often say the universe, will respond. And you know what? In some ways they're right, because there's a distinguishing factor between God the creator and the universe which he created. the creation is hardwired to respond to those who are created to govern it. We are those who are made in the image of God. So when you use the principle of creative visualization, in other words, you see a picture, you engage with that picture, you speak into it, say this will be, or you believe in your heart it will be, that's nothing more or less than faith. Seeing something before it happens, that's faith. Faith is a powerful spiritual principle that when you invoke that principle, it will happen. So I'm a firm believer in the law of attraction. The issue is this: when you use it out of the place of the flesh, when you're not surrendered to the government or the lordship of Christ, and you create all your own stuff, you know, like I want 2 Ferraris and 2 or 3 hot women and a house at the beach and a helicopter, and if that's all you're using it for, it still works. Like, I mean, there's a lot of people that just use it for that, but what an empty thing to use it for. I went through the process of submission, surrender, and I said, what is my scroll? That was my primary question. What's my scroll? What's my assignment? Like it says in Acts, I believe it's the book of Acts, it says, I come in the measure of the book that was written of me. Like we all have a book that God wrote for us. And so my question was engaging with that, and then how can I put real life pictures to what's the outworking of that?
Come on.
So to answer your question, bro, a month or 2 later, I'm traveling with Ian Clayton over in the UK, and I'm just serving, like at his tables, selling books, carrying his bags, serving, just doing whatever it takes to just help. And I meet this incredible guy. His name's Dale Bayos. He's a property developer over in Canada. And remember, a month or 2 earlier, I just set my vision board of property development. And he's like, bro, why don't I show you like how property development works? And he pulls out his spreadsheets, and my eyes are like, whoa, because he's like, dude, I'm doing this like $45 million deal. By the time it's done, it's going to be worth $60 million. So it's like $15 million profit. And he's showing me like just tabs and tabs and tabs of like, here's my capital budget, here's my operational budget, here's what I show the bank, here's like all the numbers and framework of, and anyway, so I build this relationship with Dale, and we Skype every couple of weeks. And after a few months, he's like, all right, dude, I go over to Canada and visit him, and turns out he's like, if you want to know any more, you got to come and work for me.
Wow.
So now I get this job as a development manager over in Canada, working on this $45 million development project, learning all the ins and outs of like property development, negotiation, contracts, construction, all this sort of stuff. And he's a total kingdom guy. Like he understands all this stuff. And it's just a testament, I guess, of I had to let go of something that was good, that was right for a specific season, and then come into nothingness again, engage with heaven, see the intentions of God, then move into the next phase.
Hey guys, I just want to take a quick minute to tell you about our Royal Hybrids group coaching program. Over a year ago, the Lord started speaking to me about a group of people, a tribe that would only get their value, their affirmation, that would only get their identity from who they are in God and nothing else. And from that place, they were going to do great things on the earth. In the last year, we have seen a whole bunch of people jump into our program, solidify themselves in their identity with God, and from that place, actually start to engage their purpose. Fuse Life talks about the 6 trees: your spirit, your soul, your body, and then your relationships, your finances, and your purpose. We have seen a whole bunch of people come through this, get solidified in who they are, and then begin their own projects, whether it's a teen mums project, whether it's a coaching, counseling business, or a painting business, publishing your children's book, publishing a puzzle book. We have seen people do all of these kind of things, and we just know that this is just the beginning. So you want to go to www.fusebornformore.com/Royal Hybrids, or just click the link in the caption and make sure to check out what we are doing. We would love to have you as part of our tribe. Now, back to the podcast.
Yeah, so it's it's just another chapter of the scroll. And so, yeah, anyway, it was just amazing couple of years in Canada. And so now I'm actually in business with him. We've just started a development company. There's going to be a branch in Canada, a branch here in New Zealand.
Wow.
So yeah, it was definitely attraction. It wasn't something I chased. So the law of attraction, bro, it is for real.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad I get guests on here. We can just have real candid conversations on every subject, you know. So I appreciate you talking about it, and I think it's real too. And I learned that by accident because I put some things on the wall and then they happened, and I was like, I wasn't even really, you know, going after it. One of the things was that I will be a best-selling author. I just wrote Amazon best-selling author for some reason, and a few years later it happened. And next to it, I had this picture of champagne glasses because I wanted to live out of the overflow of God.
Oh, that's awesome.
My book ended up being called Overflow. Like, it was not even, you know, one day I was going to bed and I looked at my wall and I realized what just happened. So I totally get what you're saying, you know, and I feel like Christians or believers are really scared to explore out of what we've always known. And so I love everything that you're saying. I would love to touch on this subject where you said nothingness, because some people are going to listen to you and they're going to be like, yeah, okay, wealth and money. I'm going to go make money, you know. And obviously in your scroll, there are things written and you are equipped, you're designed for the very thing you're engaging. What would you say to people that just look at wealth as only money and that everybody should have the life that you have or the lifestyle? How would you speak to that with the unique expression that everyone carries?
Yeah, everyone's expression is going to be unique. I think the thing is, are we called to be like God? And to me, the answer is yes. Yeah. Then the next question is God rich?
Yeah.
Yes, he is. He has the cattle of 1,000 hills. So is poverty from God?
No.
It's not. There is just so many things in scripture which says, you know, those who follow me, I will fill their treasuries. There are different dimensions of wealth, but that one speaks of physical, like monetary measurement. So having money is one dimension of wealth. So everyone's unique expression. I think the first thing is understanding that you are wealthy. You are wealthy already. And like I said, for me, in that year of shifting my internal state to understanding my wealth, tapping into my wealth, unlocking the flow of that wealth, which really came from a spiritual dimension first. That spiritual dimension had an effect on me, my beliefs, my habits, my thinking, because our life circumstances around us is a direct product of all those things, our mindset, our thoughts, our beliefs, and all of those things come under the influence of our spirit if we engage with the spirit. So to me, wealth is really are you doing something that you love? Is there a flow? Does it come naturally to you? Do you get energized by it? If you're coming to the end of your day and you're like, I'm just drained, I'm frustrated, I'm like not really enjoying what I'm doing, I don't like the people I'm around, I don't feel a sense of fulfillment. So to me, the monetary aspect has allowed me to live the life of my dreams, and in the sense that I get to choose every day what I do.
Yeah.
I'm not driven by need. I'm not driven by survival. I'm not driven by obligation. I have got the freedom of choice, right?
Come on.
And what has allowed me to do that is money. And so for a lot of believers, they have a wrong concept of money. In the sense of, the scripture says the love of money is the root of all evil. I know people that don't have money that love it. And I know people that have money that don't love it. So the amount of money you have has nothing to do with whether you love money or don't. And so when I hear people say things like, oh, I'm not doing it for the money, they're actually saying, subconsciously, they're saying money's a bad thing and I'm distancing myself from it. And so energetically, they're pushing it away. And so the individual expression, bro, of wealth for me ultimately is that you do what you're created to do. For a lot of people, they're hindered from that because I've got to earn a wage, because I've got to pay the bills, I got to have a roof over my head. And so they're stuck in this survival cycle rather than a contribution cycle. And so what a lot of people don't understand is the more money you have, the more contribution you can make. So being poor is actually selfish. Being wealthy is not selfish. So you're not subject to your circumstances. Your circumstances are subject to you. Yeah.
But that's an interesting paradox, right? Because usually people who have a poverty way of thinking or poverty mindset aren't ever thinking about giving or aren't ever thinking about affecting another environment because of their blessing, you know? So it's real interesting what you're talking about here. But you said something. See, when you began, you said God got you to sell everything, give everything, and there was this emptiness of He is the Lord of your life. And then you come through in this transition in the chapters and you said it one more time. He was like nothingness. And I know there are people who carry money in their heart at like a way that they probably shouldn't, you know, and I was there too. There have been times where something happens and then God asks me a question and my soul responds in a way where I could see, oh man, like I think money is the solution here, not you. And it's been interesting because there's no condemnation in that, obviously. There's this maturing with the papa, but it's just been interesting when that comes up in your own soul that you do think money is a solution to something. Do you know what I mean? What I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely, bro. Like I think one of the things I've always held on to is money's a great servant, but it's a lousy master. So thinking about money as something that works for you, and you know, sometimes money is the solution. Like look at the story where Yeshua says to his disciples, "Go get the coin out of the fish's mouth." Why? Because they needed a solution. Money happened to be that solution. So I hear what you're saying. It's not looking to money, but it's looking to something higher than money that money responds to. So yeah, not coming under it as your master, not looking at it as your provision, but it comes as a consequence of. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I love where this conversation is going. Is this okay with you? We go this way?
Yeah, bro, this is awesome. Yeah, this is awesome. But I guess get into that point of nothingness. Okay, so let me talk about that for a bit. The Bible says, humble yourself under the mighty hand of God, and He will exalt you. So the outcome of true humility is exaltation. And so the hand of God represents the guidance, the provision, the protection, the correction of God, right? So I came to a place where I said, hey, I have all this stuff, whatever the stuff might be. For me, it was, I got a sense of identity from music, my clothes. Literally, bro, like I said, when I gave all my clothes away, I had one t-shirt, one pair of shorts.
Wow.
Homeless. And that was as an 18-year-old. We had all this brand clothing, you know, Billabong, Rip Curl, all the stuff that I was looking at getting value from something external. You hear what I'm saying? So the question is, what are you getting value from that's external? And paying the price. Like I have a friend, Marius Alanis. He's one of the most amazing guys. I would recommend go to his website, mariusalanis.com. He has got some insane stuff on wealth. His stuff is incredible. But he gave me a Tag Heuer watch, which was one of the most precious possessions I've ever been given. And I traded that. I gave it, and we can talk about trading next if you like, but I traded that for something greater to say, oh, as much as I love this watch, I want something greater. So I'm exchanging this to you, right, for something greater. And from that, bro, so much stuff unlocked. So I guess what I'm saying is coming to this point of nothingness is not to stay at nothingness, because whoever loses his life will surely gain it. Unless the seed falls, it will abide alone. So the reason why God prunes us is ultimately for greater growth. The reason why we die is for resurrection. The reason we humble ourselves is for exaltation. So the ultimate outcome of the process isn't to stay down. Right? Lucifer tried to exalt himself and he got humbled. We're the opposite. We humble ourselves, and then the intention of God through us humbling ourselves is bringing us to a higher place, which is what exaltation is. Yeah.
Come on, man. That is so good. Because a lot of people get stuck on the death. They get stuck in the dying. They get stuck in the go down. They get stuck in that part. But actually, the proof that you really went low is when he does something with you and lifts you high and places you, right? This is so good. Just before we go into trading, I'd like to touch on the spirit of mammon. And Jesus talks about how the spirit of God, spirit of mammon, that you can't serve these two masters. What's your take on this?
The Bible says, if you're unfaithful with unrighteous mammon, who will trust you with true riches? Right? So money is a trading, it's a proving ground, it's a testing ground. Money, nothing else, money. So when you look at the story of the talents, the one guy gets 1, the other gets 3, the other gets 5. The master disappears. What do they have to do? Use their initiative. Master, what should we do? Don't know, not there, gone. Use your initiative, son. Take some risks. All right? Yeah, go look for some opportunities. I don't care how you multiply it, just multiply it. So who was faithful with quote unquote mammon, unrighteous mammon, with money? The one who multiplied it or the one that buried it?
Multiplied.
Yeah. So people often think that if you're trying to multiply resources, that's a greedy thing to do. No, that's the most righteous and faithful thing to do.
Come on.
So I believe it's all to do with the attitude of your heart. If you come from a place, like I've met people that have a lot of money, but deep inside them is this fear. And that fear actually drives them to try and get more money because it gives them a sense of security. That's mammon. You get your sense of security from money, right? And you're looking at the numbers at your bank account, feeling a sense of, oh, I'm safe because I've got money. That's mammon. For me, I'm a channel of wealth, and I'm in the process of establishing an entity that is purely dedicated to the distribution of wealth. So I put portions of my profit into that entity for the distribution and empowerment of people through wealth, right? So I think, yeah, to answer your question on mammon, all of it is to do with motivation. The outcome might look similar, right? But the motivation is different. So that's up to everyone to search their own hearts to say, why do I want to be wealthy? For me, the motivation is to be more godlike, to have more impact, and to have a greater sense of contribution, to have my time available to serve. That's why. That's purely why, not so that I can feel safe. Yeah.
I love it. And I love that you can't cheat God in this. You know, there's no loophole. Like he raises sons. Like you can't skip these things, right? So the maturing process, man, I love it. So let's go into trading a little bit, or maybe actually just before that, let's hit the subject of Yeshua and Yahweh and using, I guess, the Hebrew name or the real name of God, because I've been in circles where people use his name and then almost look down at people that don't use those names, you know, but I know it's different for you. So can you speak on that? How did you start to go down this path?
So I guess I came around some people that used those names and I asked them why. And so we'll talk about Yahweh first. So let's say I was a police officer, right? And my name is Robbie, but you continued to refer to me the whole time as, hey, police officer, police officer, police officer. Yeah, that's what I am, but that's not who I am. So when we say refer to God, that is not actually who he is, that's what he is. He says he's the God of gods, which brings up the question, who are the gods that he's the God of? So that means that It's a term of a description of who he is, a mighty ruler. A God is defined as a mighty ruler from heavens. So when I continue to refer to him as God, yeah, sure, I guess that's valid. But when I get to know him, when you get to know someone, you develop first name basis, right? And as a result of intimacy, that's his name. His name is Yahweh. That's his name. And so as a level of respect, that's what I use his name, because I think it's respectful to call somebody by their name. Yeshua is the name that his mother gave him. It is not Jesus. It's Yeshua. That is his name. And so simply, this is the reason why I say Yeshua, not Jesus. I asked him, I went into the spirit, looked him in the eye, and I asked him, what do you want me to call you, Jesus or Yeshua? And he said, real clear with a smile on his face, Yeshua. That's the name his mother gave him. So it just like if I called you Jonathan the whole time, you'd probably put up with it for a while, but then you'd say after some time, dude, my name's not Jonathan, it's Joseph. And so it's underlying it all, bro. It's not about trying to fit Yahweh into our framework. We've got to fit into his. He was real clear. This is my name. And so there are different names of God. I understand that, but they're different elements or descriptions of how he shows up in different situations. Like to me, you're a friend. To your wife, you're a husband. To your children, you're a father. So you're still Joseph, but they're different dimensions of who you are to different people in different circumstances. So to me, Yahweh is the primary name, like how I interact with God. Then there's all these different kind of dimensions of his name that we can pull on the provision of. So yeah, does that make sense to you?
It does, and it's interesting because I've pondered on the subject a lot, and like I'm not the kind of person who would just do something because other people think I should, you know. And I love that you went to the Lord, and I recommend all of you go to the Lord, and you don't use a name because someone says that you should, you know, because it will lose its meaning, you know. The thing is, the way I've looked at it is like my children will call me Papa, my daughter will call me Papa. Like if you call me Jonathan and you're my son, this will be a complete different journey. If you call me Jonathan and you're a stranger, it will be a complete different journey. You know? And so when my daughter will call me Papa, call me Daddy, call me different names, but then she'd try to say Joseph, she would say Joseph, or she would say Jophus, and she couldn't say Joseph for a long time. And I just looked at it as maturity, as she's maturing into who she is in me. Then who I am starts to manifest on her mouth and the name starts to come out, you know? And so I totally understand what you're saying. And I guess I see it like a maturing thing. I mean, there are some people who might never hear what you just said, and they might always refer to God as God, or, you know, Yeshua as Jesus. And this is an interesting subject. So I love that your take on it, especially the fact that you went to God, you know, you went to Yahweh, you went to Yeshua to find that out. And I recommend that to everybody, which is awesome. Thanks, man. Thanks for touching on that. So let's hit this thing. Let's go into trading. We'll speak about trading because some people hear that term and they're like, what is that? It doesn't sound very like Christian, you know? First time I heard it, that was me. First time I heard it.
Yeah. So the precedent, the scriptural precedent for trading is really with Abraham and Melchizedek. There was a direct transfer from one person to another person, because there's a recognition that the lesser gives to the greater, in terms of Abraham recognized this person carries something that's greater than what I carry, and therefore I'm going to exchange something physical, right? He gave him of the spoils of war to him, but what paralleled that was a spiritual exchange as well. So at this point, I just want to recognize someone who's very dear to me, who's my rabbi, and that's Ian Clayton, and he's the one that taught me everything I know about trading. So I'm really just being the echo of his voice in everything I'm about to share. And when I came back to New Zealand at 19, 20 years of age, I saved up and I bought a set of his CDs. And for those of you who don't know, he's a guy here in Hastings. He's an incredible guy that, oh man, the revelation I have got from him is just ridiculous. But I couldn't understand much of what he was on about when I was younger, like, because it's so out there, like it's not like it's straight from heaven. But the one thing that I got and that I gripped onto was this concept of trading. When we give a tithe to a church on a kind of regular, casual basis, we tend to get into a routine where we don't intentionally engage with what's going on a spirit level. I'm not speaking against tithing. I'm not anything like that at all. I'm just comparing two different things. Trading is a very specific and intentional exchange where I say, based on who you are, what you carry, what's in you, I honor you. As a sign of my honor, I'm giving you something, right? Whether it be silver, gold, something precious to me. It's got to have value, money. And so what Ian taught me is that it's not a one-way exchange, it's a two-way exchange. You get the fruit that's on the person's life that you're trading into. And so what I did is I started doing teruma, which is a Jewish term for honoring the person that has an active input and role in your life. Someone who's your mentor, your coach, disciples you, someone who's kind of like got your best interest at heart and got your back, who teaches you, trains you, where you give 1/40th of your income to that person. So I would draw that money. I would go to Ian and I would say, here's my teruma, bro. Like, thank you so much for everything that you do. And he would like just pray over me and, you know, and all that sort of thing. And there's the physical interaction like this, us talking, where you can learn. But there's something way more powerful that on a spirit level, what took him 40 years to unlock in his life through his journey with Yahweh, through his revelation, through the price he paid to open up something in his life. When I trade, what happens is it opens up where your money is, your heart will be also. Channel that opens up, that what sits on that person's life can begin to function and operate in yours. So in a conference setting, we trade often where, like, you know, with again, just contrasting the two, with the tithe, you might put your monthly tithe in an envelope and put it in the box. Trading, when the person's speaking and they say a revelation that resonates with you, like let's say something about like something I said where you go, wow, I really want that. Like what he's talking about there, I want that. In a conference, I would trade. I would put some money in a basket to say, Father, what this person just said, I acknowledge that. And I honor that person, the revelation they carry, the breakthrough they've had. And as a sign and a symbol of my honor, I'm putting in a coin in the basket. It's a way more interactive, engaged way of giving. And what I found, bro, is that through the direct giving, not giving to an organization as such, but giving to a person, which is what Abraham modeled. He didn't go and give to a church. He gave to Melchizedek. And again, I'm not saying don't give to a church. I'm just saying that there's so much power in giving directly to an individual, looking them in the eye, saying, I honor X, Y, and Z, or I honor your input, or I honor your revelation, I honor your breakthrough, I honor what you carry. As a sign of that, here, I'm giving you this. When I started doing that, bro, that was the catalyst. And there's kind of a lot of overlapping stories, but I met Ian kind of in a very miraculous way when I was 19. And that was the catalyst that started, one of the catalysts that started opening so many doors, bro. And so when I give, whatever you give, whether that's tithe, teruma, trade, whatever label you want to put on it, I would encourage you to start giving directly to people, and to people who have the fruit that you want, right? So, because you're going to get, so if you're in a stale church that doesn't, like, and the reason I say that is because a lot of people are in this position, you know, I'm kind of going to church, but I kind of like it, I kind of don't. It's sort of working for me, but it's not really, we don't really have the momentum. My question is, do you want that fruit in your life? Because if you're trading into that, that's what you're going to get. Because the soil you sow into, that's going to have such an effect on what you're going to get. So here's something I encourage everyone on this call to do. Find someone who's rich and do a trade into them. Don't give. Trading's got nothing to do with need. I give to the poor, we give to the poor, you got to give to the poor. This is not a alternative to that. Find someone who's got massive breakthrough in an area that you want breakthrough. And like I did a talk in UK last year, and this lady was jobless, and I shared some of my story and my breakthroughs, and she came up to me afterwards and she gave me some gold. She bought some gold, went to the shop, bought some gold. She gave me some gold, and she was like just a little bit lost, didn't know where she was going. I see this lady 9 months later. She's working at a gold mine. She's beaming, bro. Her face is beaming. And I'm not trying to take the credit in any way. I'm just saying there's story after story that I hear of people trading something of value. Like I had a ring that someone gave me with the eagle on it. It was gold, had 3 types of gold, had silver on it. And again, I bring up Marius just because he's another one of my mentors. I sat down with him a few years ago, and I felt the urge to just give him this ring that I'd worn on my finger for 7 years. It was so valuable to me. So I take this ring off, I hand it to him, and I say, bro, I just honor you. I honor your walk. And he was like blown away. But that was the catalyst again to like just skyrocket me into the next phase. So all of what I'm talking about is you got to be willing to pay the price that Yahweh often unlocks. Like look at Abraham. Give me your son, you know? Wanted to test him to see to what extent is he willing to sacrifice. So trading is what I call an intelligent way of giving. A lot of people don't give intelligently, and then they don't get the fruit that they're looking for, and they're going, well, I've been tithing faithfully, but I'm still poor. Okay, well, yeah.
You know, this raises an interesting subject because some people might think that by trading they can buy something.
Yeah.
And I love that we can talk about this, like the culture of honor and how it's actually just honor that's opening up something, and it's not money. Money is the last part of it, but it first happens in your heart, right? You first traded in your heart. You first saw value in your heart towards this person. You first feel something inside rather than just try and buy it, right? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, bro, I'm not shy to talk about money being a critical component of what we're talking about. Like, again, look at the master and how he treated those that he gave money to. It's very much like, yeah, you're right. It's an intention of the heart, but the intention is expressed through money. Like, if you go and work for an employer and he doesn't pay you money and he just goes, oh, you know, I just want to honor you for your work, you're going, that's great, but where's the money?
So if your heart didn't feel how you felt towards Marius and you gave him money, or if your heart didn't feel how it felt towards Ian and you gave him money, do you think things would still move like that?
Big time, because my heart will eventually come into line. If my heart's not in the right place, I give out of obedience, right? And I give because I know it's the right thing to do. If my heart is shrouded by something that's not right, I give anyway, and my heart will soon follow. So
then you're saying you get a chance to get your heart right, because you might give and then you might be grudging about it or complain about it. You know, some people...
Anyway, bro, because if you're already... Yeah, I would, for me personally, give anyway. Your heart will catch up.
But that's what I'm saying. See, so you're saying what I'm saying, like your heart will catch up.
Sorry if I've misunderstood you. Yeah, you're right, bro.
Yeah, like I'm totally not saying that you shouldn't put money. I mean, my mentor in California 2 years ago, when I met him, totally invested in the coaching. I flew to California. I've gone to every conference. This cost me a lot of money, a lot of time. Amazing. I totally value what you're saying, and I live it, you know, and it's opened things up for me in the business realm as I traded in, as you would say, or sowed in, but traded into everything he's doing. All I'm trying to say is, because there are some people here in the comments who will be like, I've been giving, you know, I've been giving money, I've been da-da-da, but I love that you're saying your heart will catch up. Yeah, you know, I totally agree with you, just so you know. Yeah. Misunderstanding.
Yeah. Awesome, bro. Well, we're on the same page then. And that's great, man. I love how you're doing this properly, paying the price, going to the States. You're doing such a good job, by the way, man. It's awesome.
No, thank you. I mean, it's awesome, everything you're saying. I'm just making sure I respond to some of these comments and some people talking about the heart posture and all that. Because I totally get what you're saying, because some people might get hung up on the hard thing and never give, and they don't understand that it's a cycle, right? They both have to go. You're giving, and if your heart's not there, it will catch up. Or your heart's there and you're not giving, then you start to give. Like, they're both important, I think, like you can't.
Yeah.
I don't know if I make
Yeah. No, you're making total sense, man. I'm comfortable with our position on the throne where we govern and rule from that place outwards. So he who is joined to the Lord is one spirit with him. In him we live and move and have our being, right? We're seated in Christ in heavenly places. We're born again from above. And so out of that place, we govern outwards. And so one of the things that the Lord showed me is, like, if you imagine like a really bright light, right? If you stare into the light, are you there, bro? I lost you for a sec.
Man, this is crazy. Last 2 days, my computer's frozen. Never happened before, and I don't know what the heck. I'm going to have to fix it, but I'm back for now.
Yeah, cool, bro. Well, I just took the liberty to get onto a bit of a different subject, which is...
Yeah, go for it.
Position. So I'll just finish my thought that when I was just talking about positioning, when you look at a really bright light and you're staring into it, what are you doing? You're kind of going like this, right? Because it just blinds you. God is light. In him there's no darkness at all. Walk in the light as he is in the light. Let your light shine. All these things. So light is very important. We're not meant to stare into God. We're meant to come in from the source of the light, looking out to where the light's shining onto. So as kings and priests, our job is to administrate another dimension into this dimension. That's how heaven is brought to earth, because we're divine administrators. Now, where do we do that from? From the center of God. So we look into creation from the center of our Father, because the scripture I used is, Yeshua says, to him who overcomes, I'll grant that he sits with me in my throne as I overcame and sit with the Father in his throne. And a throne is a platform of authority. Okay, so we govern from a platform of authority, and that's the place that all of creation begins to respond to you in a much greater degree if you operate from that place. It's not a metaphor, it's a spiritual reality, and something that we engage with great intention. It's not an automatic process. It's something that we have to accept. Like, how do you get filled with the Spirit? How do you come to God? Through choice. How do you get saved? Through a choice. And so our journey has to be very intentional to say, okay, if we're born again from above, right? If we are kings and priests, if he's King of Kings, God of gods, Lord of lords, then where do we operate from? The kings of Israel, it says they established their throne, they sat on their throne, and they ruled from their throne. So a throne being a platform of authority, we have to operate from that place intentionally. We can't look at God in the sense of, I'm looking at him, because we're joined with him, we're one with him. So I stand in the inside of God, looking out to creation. And in that place, we're surrounded by the four faces of God, the seven spirits of God that are before the throne. We're surrounded by the angels. We're surrounded by the cloud of witnesses. We're surrounded by all sorts of stuff, the promises of God, the names of God, the blessings. So you picture yourself right in the center, speaking out. So any business I engage with, I engage with it from that point. And out of the throne, it says a river flows. That river is the provision of God. So the provision flows into any activity I engage with here. And that is how heaven is established on earth, because it flows through us. Out of your heart will flow rivers of living water. So not seeing yourself as I'm down here and God's up there. No, I'm operating from the inside of God, because he who is joined to him, to the Lord, is one spirit with him. And Christ even said, Father, as I am in you and you are in me, I pray they may be one in us, right? So not only is God in us, but we're in God. And the reason why that pertains to wealth is because that's the source. That is the source of true wealth. Yeah.
Come on, man. This is so good. I'm conscious of your time. I want to honor your time too, because I know you have an appointment coming up in a little while.
Yeah.
So we can start to land this plane a little bit.
Yeah.
It's been awesome having you here and having this conversation. And I love what you carry. I just want to honor you, bro, for everything that you're doing in our nation. And even for this connection, man, it's awesome. So thank you so much.
Connecting with you too, bro. And it's just such a pleasure and an honor to be on here, eh?
I really feel like we're going to do something in the future. Like, guys, those of you that are listening, we might end up doing something in the next little while. So just keep a lookout. And I'll get some links from Robbie of things he's doing and put them in the caption so you can check out everything he's doing. And even maybe Marius, if you want to put a link, even of Marius, we'll put that up here. But normally as we're landing, I get people to share their, like a wisdom bomb or a quote or a one-liner or something that's burning in them in this current season. What would that be for you?
Okay. I hope this doesn't come across as too controversial, but I'm going to say it anyway. I had an encounter recently where and again, we're talking about engaging God in his dimension, right? That's what I was just talking about. Where I came before the throne and I could hear these voices in the spirit saying, look at him. He looks just like his father. Right? And in me, I was really uncomfortable because there's all these voices saying, who do you think you are? You know, you're like this unworthiness, which I believe is really at the core of our fallen condition. For everyone is insecurity and a feeling of lack or not being good enough, not being worthy, all this sort of all that sort of stuff, because it's an intergenerational lie that's been so deeply ingrained. So when these voices said, look at him, he looks just like his father, the same way that when you look at a little kid and you go, oh, he's got his father's eyes and his dad's nose and look at his fingers, he's got, the same fingers. And like when I look at my 1-year-old son, he may not know everything I know about investment and consulting and coaching and wealth and bank accounts and legal systems. But he's got the exact same potential as me. And so when we're born from the seed of God, we're born from the genetic code of who God is. Because it says, as he is, so are we in this life. The word seed in the Bible is the word sperm. So the sperm is the DNA, the genetic structure, the same genetic structure of Yahweh we carry, right? So the manifestation of the sons, when that comes to fruition, we'll not be able to distinguish between us and God. So we are the offspring of God, as sons of God, as children of God. It's not a metaphorical thing. So the offspring of a cat is what?
A kitten.
Yeah. So the offspring of any creature is literally the same.
Yeah.
So remember what I said? A God is a mighty ruler from the heavens. It says he stands amongst the gods and judges. He's the God of gods. And Yeshua even says, in your scripture, it says that they are gods, right? So if we're of the same genetic pattern of God, what does that really make us? So I'm not saying we're Yahweh, get me right? I'm not saying that. And I'm not saying that he answers to us in any way, shape, or form. He's the King of Kings, Lord of Lords, God of Gods. But sometimes people are quicker to say that the gods that are being referred to there are demons. Why do we think that? So what is your position? What is your identity? And what is your responsibility? Your responsibility is all of creation. Your position is the throne of God. Your identity is the offspring of God, the Son, right? So I would just leave you with this. Go and write down those three things: position, identity, responsibility, and ask the Lord to show you the truth around those three things.
Wow. That was awesome. Come on. There you go, guys. Practical. Man, this was so good. I know we could keep going for hours, and maybe we will in the future. I think people are really keen to go deeper. But hopefully, guys, you enjoyed this and got a lot of value from it like I did. And again, Robbie, I just want to honor you. Thank you so much for being here, man. And I really appreciate you. Thank you for your time. This was amazing.
Joseph, thank you very much, bro. And I welcome the idea of doing stuff with you in the future. Respect and honor you too. Thank you so much, man. And hey, guys, I just want to say I felt all of you, felt your energy. This is an amazing crowd. Great people that are connecting into what Joseph's doing. I bless you guys to just go out and prosper and succeed in all that you do. So thank you very much for watching and connecting with us. Thank you so much.
Wow, that was epic. I felt that blessing. Sweet, guys. Well, we're done. Bless you. Have a great day. Robbie and I are out. So Robbie, stay with me, but everyone else, we'll see you later. Bye.
Faith and patience. Faith and patience. Patience means allow it to happen. Stay the same. Stay persistent. Keep going. Faith, know that it can happen at any moment. Get excited because it can happen at any moment. You were so close. Don't quit now. Keep pushing. You got this.